therapy practices across the country are not trained, they're not prepared, they're not able typically, unless you're working with Sturdy McKee, Jerry Durham, Jamie Schreier, whoever like that has a formal front desk process that where you're trained in.
All right, where are we going?
Well, Max says the big idea. Here's a spicy one. This is one you kick around, and I like what we do is we kick it around in the group chat, or we wind up posting on social media for the world, because the world is just a social lab, a social experiment. And we tag each other in it so we can sort of be part of the conversation. And this is one that Tony kicked out, which was, if Medicare is paying $30 for basic exercises by an entry-level therapist, and anything beyond that, specialized manual skills, advanced neuro techniques, it doesn't get paid more. So, Tony, you're saying it should be self-pay, but you're saying this is, I think I labeled this the Costco rotisserie chicken. You're saying if Medicare can be your loss leader to other things, and then people bring in ethics and also just emotions, people pour emotions all over this. So pitch this idea. This is the big idea today.
So, okay, I'm trying, and I've had an interesting conversation with my niece who's an SLP. She's a relatively new SLP. I'm going to say she's probably 1 year, after out of school. But the idea is, I said, if I am graduating as an entry-level clinician in any of the three disciplines with what qualifies me to bill an insurance company, the insurance company by default, in my opinion, is saying, this is the threshold, entry-level knowledge. That is what we are paying for, period. If you want to give our beneficiaries something more, it is coming out of your pocket. Okay. I think therapists can grasp the idea on the product side. They can say, okay, I can do gait training with a gait belt on the floor. I don't need to buy an expensive treadmill. But if my patient wants to use a $30,000 reactive step trainer with all of this innovation and technology, they should have the option to pay for that. I can't make it mandatory. I can't say, I accept Medicare, but you have to pay for this. I can say, I'm a contracted Medicare provider. We can do what Medicare is paying for, and you can pay for something better. I think we can pull that into knowledge. I think we can pull that into services. Take somebody like Dave. Dave has advanced knowledge in manual therapy techniques. Somebody Dave knows from Long Island, David, I can't remember his last name, was talking to me about this. If Dave Kittle pays for new knowledge, new information, advanced, certifications, and has this experience, he should be able to charge, because that is not what Medicare is paying for. That is beyond reasonable and necessary. That goes on the threshold. And so what I'm saying is, okay, Medicare sends us the referral. Look, somebody else posted, and I love what they said. If you look at very busy clinics, I'm not going to use the term busy clinics. You put a patient on a bike, you put a patient on stretches, you put a patient on some basic strength training, they get better. Most of the people do get better with that stuff. They don't need the helicopter therapist who's hovering around them every second of every minute, who's touching them like all the stock photography. That is all beyond what is absolutely required. So my thing is, Medicare is the loss leader. Medicare brings the patient in. We can offer the Medicare covered service, but then our profitability comes on what we offer above and beyond that. You want the premium, you want the best, you want the therapist with experience and knowledge who's going to make it fun and tell you jokes. Awesome. That's an extra couple $1,000s to complete this plan of care. You want what Medicare is paying for, which will still make you better. And this is what I want to hear from you guys. I think too many of us think the standard of care, the threshold, entry level is not good enough. And it is. I mean, the fact is, it is good enough. It's just not as good as what we do. It's not as good as what we want patients to receive.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I think we need to tease apart what we give away for free, which we shouldn't, with what Medicare is actually paying for and what we should be charging an additional premium service for.
Yeah.
So I agree, but the challenge is most therapy practices across the country don't have a great person on the phone conveying the difference between, hey, Medicare. And by the way, thank you, Tony. Last week, I just started using the bare minimum. Medicare, it covers the bare minimum. You sound like someone who would want not the bare minimum, more than the bare minimum. So anyway, we're using that. So that's a sidebar we can come back to. But I agree. I agree with this, but therapy practices across the country are not trained. They're not prepared. They're not able, typically, unless you're working with Sturdy McKee, Jerry Durone, Jamie Schreier, whoever like that has a formal front desk process that where you're trained in persuasion, psychology, sales, human behavior, right? So most practices are just like they're taking Medicare, they're billing Medicare. We've talked about it a ton of times on the show. And no one's doing this. I know you're kind of doing it, Tony, but like no one else is doing it as far as I know, where they're just charging Medicare like one unit. And then they're saying like, oh, but your goals are this, this, and this. And these would be outside of what Medicare pays for. And this will be an extra $30, $60, $90, $100 or $200, whatever per visit out of pocket, and just charge Medicare one unit, because most of these practices are just billing companies and they're just billing Medicare and they're billing all the insurances. That's my thoughts. I think Jimmy was going to chime in. What do you think?
Before I let Jimmy go, because I want to hear what Jimmy says. Every time I introduce a new concept or reintroduce the same concept, every objection, totally legitimate. Like that is an absolutely legitimate objection, but it is not an objection to the fundamental premise. The fundamental premise is, look, we've made a mistake. We as clinicians, as therapists, as practice owners, we have given away everything in exchange for the minimum compensation when Medicare is not even asking us to do all of that stuff. There's nothing in the required guideline that says you need to give my patient the absolute best of everything you have available to you for minimum compensation. Medicare is saying this is what we are paying for, period. And then we make the choice to give up, to sacrifice, to do this stuff. Your objection is 100% accurate, but it is not an objection to the fundamental premise. So then you say, okay, what hopefully I am referencing is accurate. These are the roadblocks. How do we overcome those roadblocks? And that's the beauty of business. That's the best thing of what we can do is we say, okay, now you're right. How do we communicate that value? Somebody said in one of the chats, hey, my Medicare beneficiaries won't pay for more than what Medicare covers. Well, it's because you're attracting and marketing the wrong message to the wrong people. I think the easiest way is you offer something that people aren't expecting Medicare to pay for. Then you flip the script and you're like, hey, this is a $3,600 episode of care. This is what I recommend. But guess what? Medicare is actually going to pay $1,200 of the $3,600. Yeah, so you're only going to have to pay this little amount that's remaining. Like, that's amazing. The person who's not expecting Medicare to pay, who then gets the benefit of Medicare, that's the easiest person in the world. Then you can start going upstream and you can say, okay, how do I communicate value? How do I change what I'm selling? Jimmy, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to ask, how do you communicate this? Because I feel like how you communicate it would change how it felt. And there it is, right? It was making me think of a clip I just saw, because I lay in bed for another 20 minutes when my alarm goes off. I don't jump out of bed, right? And I saw a clip this morning from Rory Sutherland, and he was talking about...
It's Tony's guy.
Yeah. He was talking about luxury hotels. So imagine you show up to a luxury hotel and you're standing in the ornately decorated lobby, and you show up there at noon knowing check-in's at 3. And they say you can't check in right now because it's noon and check-in's at 3. But if you give us $100, you can check in. That idea was rejected because the concept is I've paid so much for the room already that you're going to hit me. The room's empty. You've just told me it's empty. If I give you the $100, you're going to let me in. You've got a locked empty room. That idea didn't work. They tried it. What they did was they went to booking and said for $70, you can check in 3 hours early. And they went, oh, that's fine. Because the idea was someone's going to have to work harder and faster to clean the room faster. So it's the same concept. They just did what Tony was talking about, which is they flipped it over. They said, oh, you can get more if you pay us early. So it's similar, not exactly the same, but that's the idea, is how you frame it.
So you look at surge pricing, right? Wendy's came out and said, well, they didn't say this, but I'm going to charge more when we're busy. Horrible idea. But if you charge more across the board and then you discount when you're slow, everybody loves it. It's right. If 10 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. is packed, I raise all of my prices for every appointment, but then I reduce prices at 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursday. I'm a hero. Right. But if I raise prices on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m., I'm a villain.
Listen.
Same exact outcome, and this is where like behavioral psychology, behavioral economics, I love this whole concept. What were you going to say?
Can I give you a real world example that has bothered me since I was a student in 2013?
Let's hear it.
The PT Political Action Committee. You're great. You do stuff. I don't know what the stuff is, but it's stuff I don't want to do. And you give money and that makes PT advance somewhere in Washington, right? I know enough. They walk around at CSM in the red jackets, right? And they're trustees. And their pitch since I was a student was, if you just give up one latte a week and donate that money to the PAC, we'd be the strongest PAC in the world. And I'm like, that is the shittiest argument ever because it comes at it from the wrong way, which is give up something that I value to get something else that's sort of ambiguous. I don't directly see it. So this is something this is what I've said. Change your framing of your argument and you'll have more donations. Like flip it. I'm trying to think. So what would be a good flip of that instead of give up your latte? Dave's signaling.
I got a potential flip. All right. So how much does APTA cost? Like I'm no longer a member, but
it's like $500.
It's $500. Let's say, I don't know, Tony may or may not like this. Let's say right now, if I were to go sign up, if they implemented this via Max, via Kittle, via Max, the AI assistant, and then APTA enacted it right away the same day. We go to sign up. I go to re-sign up for APTA. I'm going to join. I'm going to rejoin, let's just say. And you're saying it's $500. Let's say all of a sudden it's $575 right now. And if I click a little box that, let's say, I don't know, $50 or $100 of that, let's say $75 of that is going to go to the PAC. That's the only way I can sign up is I click the box. $75 is going to go to the PAC,
right? And
then I get a discount off the membership. So let's say it's $600. We'll make it easy. $600 right now. It used to be $500. It's $600 today. It says, but get this for $500, and we're gonna donate, $50 to the PAC. So I click it. I pay $500, the same as yesterday.
Yes.
$50 goes to the PAC. Now they just converted me. So they took me from a higher price expectation to I get a discount if I do a thing. Now money gets diverted potentially to PT PAC.
Yes.
And I re-sign up for APTA. What do you think of that?
I love it. Now, the only asterisk I would put is I'm not smart enough. Someone will correct me. There's like rules about money. Like APTA is.
I know that.
But yes, that is the idea.
If that in a vacuum, if that doesn't exist.
Well, it's the opposite of the nickel and dime approach, which is like just sell me when I have my credit card out, give me one price. I have a woman who comes in. She's fantastic. She cleans my house. And I was like, hey, I want to do a spring. Like she does a normal cleaning, but I was like, it's spring. Let's zhuzh the place up. And she's like, well, I charge $10 per window and an extra. And I was like, just give me one price. And she's like, well, I'm doing the math. I'm like, then just give me the bottom of the math because I don't want to I don't want to be like, dude, she cost me $10 a window. That one's small. That one wasn't even dirty. Just give me one price. How much to solve all of the problems?
Oh, if you're a mobile physical therapist, here's how to say it easily over the phone. You could say, well, it's $500 a visit for a mobile visit. However, if you're closer in distance, it's $250 per visit. And then you're like, oh, so by the way, let me pull up Google Maps. What's your address? What's your street intersection? I can pull up my therapist commute right now on the phone. Oh yeah, it's only going to be $250. It's going to be $250 a visit. Now $250 sounds like a deal because I price anchored you at $500.
What are the people saying when you posted this, Tony, about what's like the pulse of people like agreeing, disagreeing? And if they because here's my guess. People tie an emotion to this and all they want to do is, well, if they have Medicare, I want to charge them nothing. And I'm like, great. And then you can charge them nothing. And then 3 years from now, if your clinic doesn't exist, nobody gets help. That's where I think it's going to go.
So most of the resistance comes from, and Dave hit it. It's like, well, my patients won't pay anything. And I'll give you guys a classic
because
example.
they're used to not paying.
Yeah, because you have trained and created the animal, the monster that we're trying to, transform. It's just like Bed Bath & Beyond. When that used to be a thing, you would get the 20 or 30% off, postcard. Nobody would ever go. Kohl's. My wife loves Kohl's. She will never go to Kohl's unless she has the 30% off. Even when she gets a 20% off, I'm like, you realize that it's 10% difference. No, it's not a 30. She will not go. So Kohl's has created the monster that only with a 30 will my wife go to Kohl's. So when we look at this, we're so ingrained in everybody says no, but it's just because that's the community that we've been working so hard to treat.
Right.
And we have the mindset of, well, insurance has to pay for everything. We've been brought up that way. But I shared a post yesterday. I shared a bunch of posts. One of them was, okay, look, if you can increase per visit revenue to $250 and you're a mobile clinician. So if you're doing traditional Medicare, you're getting $100 a visit. You're doing 30, I think it was 30. The post has it. If you go to $250 in revenue, you only have to do, I think it's like 20 or something, 15 or 20 visits, right? And so I'm like, look, you free up 15 visits a week that you could do completely for free. You make the same revenue as like $125,000 a year, single owner operator, mobile therapist, no staff, no overhead, very lean operation. I was like, all you have to do is raise average revenue to $250. Now, you can do $250 with a mobile visit, but you can also say, hey, my normal rate is $250, but if you have Medicare covers $100 of that, so you're actually only paying $150. The $150 goes to cover the advanced certifications, the advanced technology I'm bringing, all of that kind of stuff. And as a case example, I've got a patient who's been a patient of mine for years now, Medicare beneficiary. This patient's husband heard about SoftWave. The patient came in saying, hey, my husband's been researching SoftWave. We really want to do it. How does this work? I was like, yeah, absolutely. It's not a covered service under Medicare. It's $500. You get one treatment a week. We've got great results. Patient said, oh, I don't want to do that. Meanwhile, no problem. I was like, that's fine. We can just do Medicare covered services. Everybody else who walks in the door sees the Facebook ad that says $500 for 28 days of SoftWave. They have no issue because they're coming in expecting to pay. Right. And then they find out the additional stuff is actually also available through insurance. So you've got the $500 cash plus the insurance covered plan of care. But they came in with the framework of this is not covered. I want this. They said it was $500. I'm ready to pay. And you guys see the post that I'm putting out. Right. I'll take your grandma or grandpa to a Reds game down in Cincinnati. I'll take grandpa or grandma fishing. I'll do, meet them at home after discharge from a knee replacement. None of those things are covered. I put a $1,500 price tag on some of them, a $500 price tag on others. I am putting it out there to frame this right from the start as this is an amenity. It is not a covered benefit.
I think when you change the wording, you change the value. And I know people are going to say this just word tricks. I was doing some shorts on some Chris Voss techniques, and I got one or two comments that are like, this is just like mental Jedi stuff. Like it's the same thing, different words. And I'm like, yeah, Louboutins are just shoes. But why does one sell for, I don't know, a lot? I don't even know how much they cost. A lot more than pay less. Did you ever see the Palessi thing?
Yeah.
Right? We talked about that, right? So if you change the imaging, you change the value. So I don't know, man. When someone's done with this, my guess is they feel better because they're like, oh, I was going to pay this, but now I paid less. Yes, it's 3 plus 2 is the same as 2 plus 3, except I feel better.
At every price point, Dave, you have more experience, but I have to think at every price point, people like to feel like they saved a little bit. Yeah. People like to feel like they weren't being taken advantage of.
I don't know because we don't offer discounts. And if people ask for discounts, we say no. Like the rate is the rate. And those people, typically we give them an off-ramp because I don't want someone haggling. This, by the way, this is not a flea market. This is my practice. Like you think you can haggle. just because it's not like a quart of milk or some, frozen fruit in a bag at the grocery store that's $4.50. You can't haggle that. So on the phone with me, I don't understand why you think you can haggle. And in fact, if you ask for a cheaper price, I'm about to raise it. I'm about to say, you know what? You just did yourself. Now it's $100 more per visit.
So real quick, before we got on live, I was telling Jimmy, Dave, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen all the Chinese manufacturers that are mainly on TikTok coming out saying, we build your Louis Vuitton purse. We create your Lululemon yoga pants. We are the factories. So this is the big movement right now on TikTok. Those factories, because of tariffs and politics, they're coming out and they're saying, hey, we do 80% of the work for your luxury products. If you want those luxury products at a fraction of the price with the same quality, come straight to us.
Dupes.
Ooh. The problem is, to Dave's point, that's not what people are paying the premium for. It's not about the product. It's about the brand and about the identity of the person.
Status. They want to be able to say they paid the full price. It's status too, and ego.
It's up here and life changing. Yep. I want to be able to say this is affiliation and belonging.
So this goes to Jimmy's point about memberships with any organization. It doesn't matter. I'll go back to, we started doing a fundraiser for our kids' elementary school. The people who go to, we raise $150-ish thousand each year for different projects we want to do. This is sports and boosters for elementary school. It's a dinner. It's one night, $150,000. Those people could have just given that money to the school. There's no reason that we had to do the dinner, but it's the theater, it's the experience, it's all of it around it. And I would say it's a mistake for an organization, APTA or otherwise, to try and convince members that they're going to save on discounts and you get cheaper TheraBand and you get these benefits and all this other stuff. If you just give us the $500 for the membership, forget it. Just go to live events, do one monthly live event in a different city or whatever, make it a huge, extravaganza, bring the people who feel good, feel smart. We just had one, somebody paid $7,000 in an auction for a doodle, one of the, little mini doodles, a dog. And it made them feel amazing that they were paying this money for this dog that probably somebody else could have bought for a couple $100. But that's where you find the people who want to spend the money. Let them spend the money. Let them feel smart and good about it. Then everybody else gets the benefit.
Yep.
Let me charge a couple people thousands of dollars, and then shoot. If I'm a good guy, I will see other people who can't afford thousands of dollars for free.
Correct.
And I think that's where you see the rubber hit the road, because what you're going to find out is maybe you're not as good as you think you are. If you're not the one doing the free services, when you have all that extra money coming in, then you got to check your ethics, but it's just so much easier to just sit at $100 a visit, complain about the powers that be controlling everything. Last thing, I know I'm hogging all the time. Then I want to go to Dave's segment.
It's all good.
I get people who are like, you got to fight and you got to protect this and you got to do this and this is your responsibility. Look, guys, I get it. There's lobbies and we can lobby Congress to change Medicare reimbursement. That's going to take, it's been 25 years. I've never seen it happen, but maybe it's going to happen next year. I could switch tomorrow. I could literally switch today. Right now, I can put a post on Facebook, switch my pricing, switch my profit model, switch everything. And by tomorrow, I could have more cash in my bank account. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? I am not going to fight Congress when I can make a change right now, this minute, that affects the bottom line. The question is, what happens if I do it and it doesn't work?
I pitched an idea to APTA, quadrant the United States, Seattle, Texas, something in the Southeast, New York, and do an event and just keep quadranting the country, because what people want is belonging. They're not buying the discount on New Balance shoes. Like they're not. That's not why they're showing up. So give the people what they want. Let them eat the cake, which is belonging. They want to get together with people in rah-rah. And the only time that you can do that is CSM. And I think that's a mistake. Yes, anding to your school event, I took part in roasting a politician last night. So this is a guy, this is my brother's best friend, right? He's Assemblyman Brian Marr. He has a 40th birthday, and I got to give him credit. As a politician, he could have just threw a bougie, $500 a plate thing or whatever and brought a bunch of, bougie people together. He rented out a theater and allowed people to roast him. And that's actually David Lucas, who's on the Kill Tony podcast. Have you heard of the Kill Tony podcast? It's this comedy podcast, and this harsh, like dark humor. It's funny, but like some of it, we cannot play any clips on this show. But it's such a good idea. He took this concept that's been going around on Comedy Central for a little while now. Like comedy got back into the roasting of Rob Lowe and Tom Brady and the whole nine. But if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, he made it benefit this event called Honor Flight, which sends veterans to D.C. to enjoy the monuments and be recognized. So I think it's a yes and. All the people in the audience could have just wrote a check, but he gave them a little bit of a show. And then, of course, he used connections to like leverage things, right? I mean, there's my brother on the left DJing, right? I was the disembodied voice on the microphone, giving a little zings here and there, right, as I introduced the guests. So I think you have to give before you ever. This is jab, 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 right hook from Gary Vee. All right, time to shift gears. Profitability problems with
real quick. Final comment on that is you can come to New York City. I'll take you. We can go down to Canal Street. We can go and get Fendi, Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Dior, Balenciaga. We can get all these purses and wallets that are fake, that are knockoffs.
Dude.
And the difference between someone across the country in a practice that had a Medicare beneficiary that is coming most of the time, I want to say most of these folks that has been coming to your practice for months, if not years, it is pushing a boulder uphill to try to get them to all of a sudden pay more to pay out of pocket. It's two different people. The people that come and shop at Canal Street to get knockoff Prada, Gucci, whatever purses or wallets or whatever other, luxury leather goods, they're not the ones that are going to the actual stores to buy the real thing. It's two different consumers. That's the difference. And physical therapy has all these Medicare beneficiaries across the country that have been using their Medicare benefits, and they want to continue for as long as they're on this earth to use those Medicare benefits. And the people that pay out of pocket, like the folks that we sometimes stumble across that work with us, that pay out of pocket when they have Medicare, it's two different consumers.
Is it two different consumers, or is this like that scene from the Avengers? It's a different time. If you had gotten that person 10 years ago and taught them this, like if you had presented it differently, they might think differently. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know Tony, what do you think? I mean, maybe someone can go from the Medicare insurance mindset and then they have a couple bad experiences, not at Tony's office, of course, but like other offices where it's like they change the therapist every visit. The time of the treatment duration is different every visit. The person becomes accustomed to getting frustrated and their expectations are not met. Then they could say, they could ask around, they could look around, what else is around? And then some people are like, well, there's some therapists that charge $200-$300 a visit, but you got to pay out of pocket. And then it's one-on-one, and they could, quote unquote, graduate or transition to that. Not many people are going to get there.
I agree. Not many people are going to get there. I do think it's a different consumer. I also shared that post that said, look, what if Medicare paid the beneficiary and not the therapist? What if Medicare said we would normally spend $100 or $1,000 or whatever? I'm just going to give it to you, Mr. Beneficiary. You choose where you're going to spend that money. How many of those people would just keep the money? I'll deal with the back pain. I'll take the $1,000 that you would have spent on therapy. How many of them would go to another specialty, another option? I think the reality is most of the people that are coming into physical therapy today are coming because their doctor told them to, and it's covered by insurance, and so we don't have something that they want. We don't have something that they're desperate for. And that's what I'm trying to change. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And that's what leads to profitability problems.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com, or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.